Okay, folks, this is HollyShorts interview number 6, and I am here with the creator of a lovely little ditty called But Tomorrow. I will have Lynn Q pronounce her full name because Cindy cannot. So,
Hi, my name is Lien Que Ayoung, and I am the director of But Tomorrow.
absolutely. Okay. So, before I start talking about the film, so very much to ask. I'm a journalist. So, by occupation, that allows me the right to pretty much sneak around all over the place and Google you and Instagram you, which I did. One of the things I can tell you about Lynn Q is there's very few love stories that I think match mine and Michael's. And through watching just your pictures and first meeting you, I'm pretty confident in believing that there's a true love story there. So, of course, I'm going to bust you out and say, tell us how you met and tell us a bit about this love story. And more importantly, tell me how your partner supports you, not only personally, but professionally.
Oh, that's a wonderful, wonderful story. Okay, so I actually met my wife we just had our 9-year anniversary. So it's 9 years together and 4 years married.
Okay.
We had our ninth year anniversary on July 31st of this year. I met her on OkCupid, which is a hilarious story to me because it was my first time actually venturing on internet. Like it was just something that was so foreign to me. But, it turns out for me anyway, that it was so helpful because being a gay woman, it is so hard to find women who I guess because the only place, at least for me, the only place I knew of was like the club. And
Sure.
the club, it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's just so much you can do there, and it's just so much you can get to who you can get to know, and it's usually based on, darkness, loud, you can't really talk, and drinking. So it wasn't the best place to find people, and the internet turned out to be a really great place. And I got lucky my first time, and met her, and it was incredible. Our first date was an hour. Our first date was an hour because I learned music, that kind of thing, with going being in a bar and stuff like that. It's like music. No, we're gonna sit, we're gonna have coffee, and we're gonna talk. We're gonna look at each
Sure.
other and talk. And then, it gets better and better if that person passes that hour benchmark, which she did. But we just her sense of humor and her story, just her life really intrigued me, and I identified with it. So
Okay. I've got you.
yeah.
Now, in terms of her place in your world, obviously that's the personal side of things, but how is she helpful to you on a
Yes.
professional level? And moreover, is she an artist or a creative herself?
She actually is. When I met her, she had this face painting thing that she was doing. She's a teacher, she's an educator for
Okay.
young children, for
Okay.
young. And she would always do this face painting thing. And I was like, well, I'm thinking of like the Lion King and stuff like that. I'm like,
Mhm.
you're on that caliber. You can totally do it. And she's like, oh, I don't know. It's more of a hobby for me. Then she was Alicia Keys, people called her. And she ends up doing, yes, I know. She ends up doing like makeup for her son Egypt's school, like a fair, because
Oh
they
my
somehow passed her during another fair with the kids at a school, and she just does this. So she started to kind of, I think, see it more as how I grew up seeing things. I was an entrepreneur pretty much most of my all my life, pretty much. And she saw the business. So she is an artist. Funny because she actually did special effects makeup in But Tomorrow. So we have worked together. We have been in classes together. I went back to school when I went from music to film because I wanted to actually, every penny before that, I taught myself. And I wanted to really understand and the technical aspect of every aspect of filmmaking.
Sure.
And I end up taking a makeup class, makeup for the stage with her. And it was just a lot of fun. So we have worked together, and she's extremely supportive. And she's in the education field right now, but something tells me she'll be working on another film.
Hmm.
I don't know if she's listening. She might be listening.
Oh, that's very, very cool. Another question relative to that. I've been notorious for telling people I work with the person I was in love with all the time on various entities. And of course, I'm here to tell you that no, it wasn't copacetic 24/7. I think there's this kind of fallacy like, well, you work with the person you're in love with, and it's always so blissful and wonderful. So is it blissful and wonderful
It
or
has been for me because the moments that we've no, what I mean, I work on a lot of things that she's not
okay.
working on. You know what I mean?
Okay,
And
sure.
and so the times that we have worked together has been amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been that class and it's been this film. She
Sure.
she does come to my films and pops in every once in a while to my films and gives, gives off that good energy. But yeah, no. And she's, when I'm editing something, I have to, hey, how does this sound? When I'm writing something, hey, how does this sound?
Sure.
So, I know that I can trust that she's going to tell me the truth. You know what I mean? And sometimes that'll be, I'm an artist, in the great words of Erica Badu, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. So, you know, so there can be something there, but ultimately I trust her,
Sure.
and I trust her opinion. So I'm able to kind of bounce off of her in a way that's very different than bouncing off of other filmmakers that are seeing
Right.
it from a filmmaking point of view, where she's seeing
Sure.
it from a moviegoer point of view, which that has been absolutely tainted from since film school for me. So,
I gotcha. Well, and of course, if any of you are on Instagram, just go look on her page. She just rocks that wedding dress. I saw the wedding dress and I thought, oh, isn't that absolutely lovely? See, so
oh
love is
man,
alive and well in Brooklyn, New York, which is
yes it
awesome.
is.
I want to talk a bit about your experiences. I've asked other New York filmmakers, and I myself was there about a month ago. So, how is the climate in terms of, obviously, of course, everyone's been hit hard by everything that's happened in the last two and a
Sure,
half years and still happening. And how
sure.
do you envision in terms of the future of film? And in particular, there are some people that fear that people are just not going to return to the cinema. So, what's
I
your
think
view
that's
on it?
I think that's absolutely insane. Call me crazy. Were you kidding me? Like, first of all, I love storytelling,
Mhm.
whether it's in a book, whether it's on television, whether it's in the movie theater, whether it's wherever it is. If I'm listening to a conversation on the train in New
Sure.
York, I love storytelling. I do not think, call me crazy, but I do not think that experience that we feel that comes from a very, comes from like aboriginals, what I'm saying? Like, comes from like us, you know, this need to tell stories, this need to express oneself, this need to, I don't think it stops on television. I think that we have went through a very traumatic time and we're still in it as a human race. I think it was necessary for whatever reason. I don't profess to know why, but I do know that people have come out of this with an understanding of who they are as a person, whereas we've been on kind of like a tread of like a hamster wheel of like
Sure.
do. Oh, we gotta go, we gotta hurry up. And for 2 years, we're like, no, sit
Right.
still,
Sure.
you know? And we're connecting not only with ourselves, but we're connecting with others. And I think that that's what film has done for me. Film
Hmm.
for me was such a leveler, an emotional leveler in my home. My younger sister got sick at age 4. She had like a stroke, and my parents were gone, and it's 6 of us all together. So there was 5 of us at home. I was the younger one, but like movies and film like took me out of the sadness. And at times it also connected me in a safe way to my sadness, to
Okay.
help me digest things.
Sure.
So I don't know, call me crazy. I believe that film is, there's no way. Come on.
Right. Right. That's what I
I'm
say
hoping we
too.
get a little bit more drive-ins now. You know what
Oh
I
my
mean?
God. Yes.
Okay.
I
I love
love that.
drive-ins. I love
Yes.
drive-ins.
Absolutely. See, so it is discouraging because I know we live in an age, especially because, I've got teenagers, so I know they're inclined Netflix, Hulu, just turn on the
Of
streaming thing.
course.
It's very discouraging to see films go automatically from the can all the way
Mhm.
to the TV and just
Right.
skip the whole theater thing. It's
Right.
very
Right. Right. Right.
frustrating to
Right.
me. So
Right.
good to hear that you share that. I
Mhm.
saw a picture recently, and I understand that you're an NYU Tisch graduate. And if
Yes.
I got my research right, it looks like you were the valedictorian. Is that correct?
I was the at NYU, no. I was a well, Hunter College, yay. Hunter College is my undergrad,
Okay.
and we're all purple passion. Maybe that's what got you mixed up. I
Go.
went from my undergrad. So I came from the music industry. And after I left the music industry, very painful. Music is like my first love. I went back to school again to learn.
Yes, I
I
saw
went
that.
back to my undergrad because I left undergrad to go into the music industry when I was younger. So I went back to undergrad first and I majored in film and television. So I was valedictorian of my undergrad. And there I
Okay.
met my mentor, Professor Herbert Charrier, who was like, what do you think about grad school? And I never thought about it. And then
Mhm.
I started thinking about grad school, and I was blessed to be accepted by NYU Tisch graduate film.
See, now it's interesting because when you Google yourself, which hopefully you'll do later, you will see a clip that says NYU and it says valedictorian with your name on it. So I'm like,
Oh
it just
wow.
annoys me because I'm like, I know I read that right, unless I'm crazy and there's another one of you. So I was like,
No.
okay, so fine. Either
Well,
way,
you
she's a
can't.
valedictorian, which means she's smart, probably smarter than the journalist here. So I want to talk about the music thing because I do have a note on here and I don't want to get too obsessive about it, but I do know that oftentimes when an individual starts off in music, obviously that makes you better and more versed in terms of putting musical scores together, in terms
Wow.
of hearing a story in your head and then putting it
Mm.
together in music. So, talk to me a bit about how you feel your background in music helps you to be a better filmmaker. And then, second of all, please tell me the most beautiful song you ever created.
Oh my God. Ooh, okay. Okay, Oprah. Are you trying to make me cry?
Well, they have cried on my show before, just saying.
Oh, have they?
Yes, they have.
Well, music, oh man, music is such a major, like that saved my life as a child.
Sure.
Music would just calm my soul. And hip hop in general, when it first came out, was such a revolutionary thing for a young Black child
Yes.
because for the first time, we're not just seeing a Black person that is not tangible for us. You know what I mean? I'm
Yep.
seeing people that look like they were right outside my door, and it was incredible. And back then, women MCs were considered secret weapons. Like, they had so much we didn't have to wear tight clothes, we wore baggy clothes, we were
Sure.
still considered sexy, we were
Yep.
still considered feminine, we were still respected. And I loved it. Then came the business, and I was young. I was really young, and I thought it was all about talent, and I thought it was all, and I learned the hard way that it was not. It's about. I always thought I was in the business of making music, and I realized that I was in the business of making money off of making music, and that's a totally different thing.
Right. Of
Totally
course.
different thing. And the business is hard. Music business is crazy. Like, for me to walk away from what I love, and I had 3 major record deals. I've had production companies with MC Light. And for me to leave something, I'm not a quitter. If you haven't noticed yet, if you did that journalism, it's like my dad taught me never to quit. You know what I mean? I'm
Yes.
just not a quitter. I
Yes.
believe that I'm going to follow my passion till I'm in a grave.
Sure.
So I didn't realize how much the musicality of storytelling is it. I didn't realize, because I was so hurt leaving the music industry,
Sure.
that I just kind of divorced myself from it. I thought I like almost amputated myself from it,
Yep.
because it was so painful. Like, I just stopped listening to the radio. I couldn't do it. So whatever came through the cracks is what I listened to. It was like controlled listening.
Okay.
But I have to say that during the pandemic, I'm sitting there with my thesis film, and at this point, I couldn't afford the songs that I wanted. It's a period piece from 1986.
Okay.
It's about my childhood. And someone said, "Oh, you're going to have to rhyme." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm not going to rhyme. I'm not doing it." People would tell me, my wife told me, my friends told me. I was like, "No."
Sure.
But it's like, "But it's your story. Why are you not rhyming?" I'm like, "Because that's not that part of the story."
Yep.
And I literally had to rhyme. And I'm a perfectionist, so it's hard. I had to like order like 1,000 different mics from Amazon.
Oh,
None of them
geez.
were right. None of them were right. And I was like, "Oh my God." Like, it was just hard. But I got a producer, DJ Iceman. Shout out to DJ Iceman. And he gave me a beat, and I just rhymed on it. And it's not perfect in any way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? It was done
Mhm.
in this room right here on
Mhm.
this computer. And I had a mic that wasn't even soundproofed. And then I had a person who was a therapist write me and tell me that the song meant something. She would love it if it was okay to have a copy for her clients, because my film is about, what does first love look like after one has been sexually abused. So it's a coming of age story about that. And this woman dealt with sexual abuse. A lot of her patients dealt with sexual abuse. So at that moment, I was like, "Oh, like the reason why I've been a musician is that very reason." So like,
Okay.
I did something that mattered. Like, I did
Sure.
something that, unbeknownst to me at the time, I did something that it was going to touch people, which is why I'm a filmmaker, it's why I'm an artist to begin with.
Sure.
So yes, the music has played such a major part in it.
Hmm.
Till this day, my friends that are also filmmakers want me to sit in on sound. Like I'm able to actually create my own soundscapes if I have to, which I've had to.
Sure. Sure.
um, so yeah, that's
And the favorite song?
oh, it's a song called "I'm Talking to Miles." It's a song that I wrote for my son.
Oh, very nice. Very
and
nice.
and when I wrote it, it's incredible as an artist, and I want to know if you can identify with this, when something just comes out almost like water.
Hmm. Yes. A few
When
different times, actually.
right, it's only a few, like in my entire life, it's only
Right.
been, I can count on my one hand when
Sure.
something like that happens, and it's such an experience. Like I was crying throughout the whole thing, you know and yeah, it's just one of those songs that it's beyond a kick drum and a word.
Hmm. Oh,
So
I
yeah.
gotcha. Gotcha. Since we have you a little emotional, so I guess I should keep you on that vein, of course, because that's what a smart girl would do. I'm well aware that your father passed 10 years ago. So it's important, I think. It speaks volumes about who you are to talk about where you came from. So
Absolutely.
please tell everyone who your father was. And then,
Yes.
second of all, tell me, if he were sitting here now, what do you think his reflections would be on your contributions in music and film?
Wow. Thank you, by the way,
Sure.
for your questions. I appreciate it. My father, Thomas Michael A. Young. My father, for me, I'm a daddy's girl, if you haven't noticed.
Ah, yes, of course you are.
My dad has always been comic relief. He's always been the embellisher. He's the storyteller, he's the
Mm,
one that's like, you riveted by his crazy stories. He was the type of man who'd go out to the store. He's like, I'm going to the store, and he won't come back like 7 hours later because he's been talking to every person on the block as he makes his way back to the house.
sure.
And it's just the type of person who looks at Jeopardy and knows everything. I'm like, Daddy, what's up? Like, how do you know all this stuff? Um, and just he can tell an incredible story. He can tell
Mm,
an incredible story that's full of suspense, beauty, horror, everything. Just like the
sure.
human experience. He also was the type of man who taught me about, my education is all I got. He taught me to never quit. Taught me no matter what I want to be, just be the best that I can be at it. And he lives within me. He lives not only in my blood, but like in my thought processes. He's there. He's an incredible cook, an incredibly generous man. Incredibly generous man. I just this anecdote. I just remember coming down. I actually, as an older person, I went back to my mom's house and I lived there for a time. And it was like, I don't want to live here. And then I realized, holy cow, like I have this opportunity to meet my parents as an adult.
Sure.
Totally different experience, like totally different. Now, no regret. Like that was like an amazing experience that I got to do before my father passed. Like, I mean, years of really getting to know him in a way that as a child, I love my dad no matter what, but like really
Sure.
getting to know him as an adult. And I just remember my television for some reason. Now, I'm a filmmaker, I'm about storytelling, I'm about movies, about television. My my television just decided not to come on. Like I'm like sitting there like, wait, like, I guess how kids about their phone, I'm about my television.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And so I come downstairs and like, oh my God, like I don't know what's going on my television. He's just like, and I could tell he's feeling I don't know, I felt like he was feeling my pain or whatever. And he was like, I don't know how much money I have on me now. And I'm like, Daddy, I don't need you to buy me a TV. He's that type of dude. Like he's
Sure.
just that type of dude that will give you the shirt off his back,
Oh,
and boy, you're trying to get me, Cindy. I hoped that I would succeed so I can get him a house. Like I wanted to buy him and my mom a house, and I wasn't able to do it.
I'm guessing you put him in the film on purpose. So he's in the film too, yes?
Ah, oh, well, do you know? Wait, are you talking about Cracked? Because Cracked is a
No, I'm
story as
talking
well.
about But Tomorrow, and I don't want to give away too much of the movie, but there is a
Okay.
point where obviously
Well, I do want to say this. I'm not sure if you know this. Like, so I am the director of But Tomorrow, but I'm not the
Yes,
writer.
correct. I know that.
Okay.
I do.
So yes, there is. So, okay, you on point. You on point, Cindy.
Thank you.
There's always, I guess even in my thesis film, there's this relationship with fathers. I think
Yeah.
it's a special thing, fathers and daughters. I've been blessed. I'm sure it's not special across the board for some people, but I've been blessed in that way. So yes, there's always this strong
Mm.
bond between a daughter and her father.
Absolutely, and it shines through her obviously in this film, and
Yes,
of course in your projects, obviously. You have a child, as you mentioned, so
yes,
we always want to talk about that aspect of it, balance. I've had other filmmakers discuss that before, being able to balance the home life with being a creative, and more importantly, is it important to you to create projects that your child can watch? Because this film, it's tough, it would be,
yeah,
in my opinion, it might be
yeah,
tough depending on the
yeah,
age of a child to watch
yeah.
this.
I feel like, it's so funny. When I was in the music industry, people would ask me, do you think you're a role model?
Mm,
And, off the bat, if you succeed in some way, shape, or form, someone sees you or thinks of you as a role model. And I'm like, I'm sure that some people would think of me like that, but I think that I should only be a role model to my son because my son sees me in everything. It's not
sure.
just this kind of facade of all the good moments in my life.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, I think
Yes.
a true role model shows how to get through the tough times, shows how to. So I think it's so important. Ever since, my son, I always treat him like a little man. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Always, always making sure that he understood that his voice counted, even though I'm the mother, even though
Right.
I'm the adult. So I don't, I do think it's important that he sees the things that I make because it's real. You know what I mean? I think a person is well-rounded when they see what's reality, but he
Yes.
has the privilege of talking to the filmmaker if he has any questions.
Well,
Not
right.
everybody has that privilege, not everybody
Yes.
has that privilege.
Absolutely.
But I do, I do think things are age appropriate. I don't think that, even when I was in the music industry, my son always heard my music. I mean, he's listened to hip hop and,
Okay.
there's a lot of profanity and some of which misogyny. And I would, have to explain to him and he knows I actually wouldn't have to explain too much to him. Having a strong mother, as I'm sure your kids feel the same way, it teaches them something. It teaches
Yes.
them something, especially our young men, our boys. It
Sure.
teaches them something. So I do think it's important. It doesn't mean that I'm going to sit a 3-year-old kid or in front of my film saying, "Hey, this is
Right.
real life. Suck it up."
Sure.
You know. But I've been blessed to kind of grow with my son, grow with him at the same time. He
Very
teaches me
nice.
things.
Good deal. Okay, I want to turn a bit to some of the other places you've been because now
Sure.
you're at HollyShorts. You've been to Bentonville, you've been to Tribeca. So talk a bit. Oftentimes with these interviews, I like to educate filmmakers, and everybody always. I hear this a lot. You got to go right to the top tier all the time. As an indie film festival founder myself, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I understand the reason behind doing the notorious, or rather the top tier festivals, but in your opinion, talk to me a bit about why it was important for you to submit to them and the importance of not necessarily doing every single top tier festival.
Right. Well, I did have a festival strategy. Some of it is about the top tier. My film didn't get into all the top tiers. I think that, and I've been versed at NYU where it's like, no, your film has a life. It has a heartbeat.
Yes.
So what film festivals coincide with that heartbeat? What film
Right.
festivals really understand and see something in that? And I
That's
think
great.
that's majorly important for filmmakers because reality of it is that unless you have a film festival budget, which is really big, you really need to be strategic about it. The beauty of that is, I always said this even in the music industry, it's like I did a song with Mary J. Blige, who is my favorite, like she saved my life with like my life,
Yes.
classic, like just incredible. Till this day, it's timeless. And I thought that was it. I made it. I made it. That's it. But really, it's the meeting of the cousin's gardener that really takes you to the, at least that's what has been my experience. You
Sure.
know, it's never really, or at least for me, it hasn't been really like, oh, see, I know now because I'm versed in like, okay, this can happen. Okay, we'll see where it goes.
Sure.
See where it goes. You know, sometimes it's meeting somebody at what they would call a niche film festival that takes you to the next level. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? And it's, and if you didn't get into that film festival, you wouldn't have never met that person.
Sure.
A lot of these programmers know each other. A lot of
Yes.
these programmers work at various film festivals and take your film to live in a different place. So it's
Yes.
incredible. I think it's about networking. It's about following, finding your tribe, finding the people that really understand you as a filmmaker. That's hard. I think that's hard. Just as an artist, somebody that really understands you, not the band, you know, I call them the wagon jumpers. Like after you've already gotten to a
Yep.
point, they're like, oh, she's phenomenal. Oh, he's
Right.
great. I knew it. And it's like, no, you didn't.
Right.
I've been here for 10 years.
Yep.
Nobody, you know, it's like even all those people that we see now that's getting to that point, you look at what they've been doing this for quite some time. Incredible actors, incredible artists, incredible filmmakers.
Yes.
So it takes time. And I think it's about just being strategic. I think my main, if I need to talk to filmmakers, my main thing is that I think artists need to be around other artists.
Amen.
Because not everybody understands this plight. It doesn't mean that you have to solely be around artists. I think being around people makes you a better artist, no matter who those people are. But I do think that when it comes to artists being around artists, they get me through the nose, and you're going to get a gazillion no's for the yeses, you know,
Yes.
but it takes one yes. It takes
Absolutely.
one yes, you know, and one yes opens up the door to more yeses, but you still
Absolutely.
deal with no's. Even the major people that we think is so phenomenal that have gotten Oscars, they still deal with no's.
Absolutely.
You know? So I think it's about, as a filmmaker, as an artist, it's about getting through the no's. And what I do is I look at I'm into sports. I love sports. I love sports because it doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter anything. It's all about your skills in that moment.
Yep.
It ain't about the next day because you can lose the next day. It's about your skills in that moment, whether you're a boxer, whether you're a baseball player, football player, basketball player, athlete, like a track star or a gymnast. Like it's about that moment. Where's your mental toughness? Because this job takes mental toughness to get
Amen.
through.
Absolutely,
You know?
without a doubt.
Especially if you're a woman, especially if you're a woman of color, especially if you're from the LGBTQI,
Yep.
you know, anything, living with a disability, whether you're, it's a lot for anybody. Older, you know what I mean? Like you have all of our things, and you have to be able to get through those no's. And I love watching sports for that very thing. I love listening to coaches because they tell you need to have the memory of a goldfish.
That's too funny.
You got to keep it moving. Keep it moving.
Are you familiar?
Keep it moving.
Are you familiar with Giannis from the Milwaukee Bucks? Because I'm a Wisconsinite, so you must know Giannis. You should follow his Instagram.
Why do I know? Wait, why do I know that name? Tell me.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Why do I know that name, though?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me, Miss Sports Fanatic? Who is he?
Oh, Jesus,
I
don't know.
This. I'm from Milwaukee. He's from my home state. He plays in my home state. He just won a huge trophy last year. And they just did a movie about him on Disney Plus. Now that should have gave it away.
Disney Plus? Giannis? Hold up.
Yes. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Doesn't ring a bell?
No.
Girl, just type in Giannis and you'll see it. Yes, folks. I'm making her look this up because she should know this. She's a sports fan. Come on now.
Yeah, but I'm a New York sports fan.
Well, I mean,
no, but you know what? I look at all of and honestly, that's not true. I love sports, period. Giannis.
He has a mindset and a mentality that's similar to yours. That's why I bring it up.
Oh.
He's the player for the Milwaukee Bucks. And they did the whole story about the brothers, and that's what Rise is about. Basically, their rise. they're from Greece, and then they end up becoming professional basketball players. It's a beautiful story. But if
Oh,
you
wait a
look at
minute.
Giannis's Instagram, he's incredibly inspirational. He's incredibly big on motivating people, etc. And he's got a great sense of humor. He does a lot of dad jokes that you'd probably appreciate. And he's a young man. I mean, he's
Oh,
very
that's
young.
why. Now I see his name.
Okay,
So
that's him.
I honestly, I haven't been able to watch basketball. Okay,
Ah,
so look at this though. No, look at this because I watched. My dad is the one who got me into sports.
oh, okay.
We watched everything, everything. We OD. We're insane. Okay. When my father passed, it was very, very difficult for me to get back into
I
it.
get it. I get that. I
Very
get it.
difficult. We would watch basketball, everything, everything.
Sure.
So I'm getting back into it, and I have been getting back into it.
Okay.
But
I
basketball, I
gotcha.
haven't been able to, and plus I'm
I
writing
hear you. No, I
features.
understand. But yeah,
But
he
thank you
reminds
for
me of
putting me
that.
onto it because
Yeah.
I love that.
That mentality is terrific. Yeah. And I do have one more question about the festival circuit because
Sure,
actually, two filmmakers brought this to my attention because I think it's important to talk about this subject because I see it happening and other
sure.
filmmakers say it's happening. So it's very clear, I'm going to guess, that you are not only, how many nationalities and how many races are you?
Wow. Well, I
Before I
identify as
ask the
black.
question.
I identify as black. My dad is Chinese Trinidadian. My
Okay.
mom's African American, but she's from Barbados, so I'm an island gal.
Okay, gotcha. The reason I'm bringing that up is because I had talked to a couple other filmmakers that sometimes feel as though the film festival circuit not singles them out, but selects them specifically because, let's say, for instance, they're African American or they're
Hmm.
Latinx or because
Right,
of a
right.
particular race or nationality, etc. Do you feel that that happens too much? Is that something that we should be
Um,
addressing in the circuit?
Too much? I don't know if too much is a thing. Do I think it happens? I think it's obviously. I mean, it's this is part of what I call the enema of America, well, of the
Jeez.
globe that happened during the pandemic.
Okay.
All of this racial unrest, all of this, what was happening about the opportunities that people of color, women, just the notion of there's no diversity out there. I think that there's so many places that are now saying, you know what, we have to pay attention to this. We need
Right.
to get more women. We need to
Right.
get more people of color. We need to get more diversity in here, whether it's age, whether it's people living with disability. We need to pay more attention and have what we see, the storytelling reflect what we actually see in the world.
Right.
So I do see a lot of things, whether they're grants, whether they're film festivals, whether they're whatever they are. I see a lot of them paying more attention to filmmakers that haven't had a voice, that haven't had that
Right.
opportunity. So
Okay.
I do see that. I don't think it's a secret. I think they actually say that they're doing it. A lot of initiatives that are out there that are supporting people of color, women, Asian people, Indian, everything,
Right.
which is good with me because I always love foreign film. I love foreign film. So I do think that that's out there. Do I think there's too much of it? I don't know.
My concern as not only a filmmaker, but also a founder myself is we want to make sure that the message we're sending isn't just here's a black voice film. It basically isn't
Should
just
never
a
be
black
that.
voice. It is
No.
it's a voice for everybody. So that's really what I'm talking about is making sure that you're not being pigeonholed into one place when in reality you can go across the board. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, 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 absolutely. And I think that that's on the filmmaker. Like, because for me, okay, so if I understand your question correctly, for
Yeah.
me, let's just say there's an opportunity, they're giving women a voice and such, and I go, I never want to be pigeonholed
Right.
ever. You know what I mean? So I have films that are, I have a pilot and television series that I'm working on that's based on a Latina. She's a horrible comedian, but she ends up going and teaching acting and comedy to young kids who are
Mhm.
troubled in an all-girls school. And they
Okay.
really teach her more about life than she even knows about life, right? And that's comedy, right? And I have drama, and I love psychological thrillers.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I just love all kinds of film. I love
I get
stupid
that.
stuff. Like I'm an Austin Powers fan. Like I love all kinds of craziness. At Christmas, I have to watch Elf.
Yes.
My
Oh my
wife
God.
has now succumbed to the madness. I have to watch Elf. I act like I haven't seen it before, and I just laugh my ass off. Okay, so
Yes.
so I think that it's important that we show. I mean, you can get pigeonholed no matter what. I mean, even great
Yes.
people get pigeonholed, but I think that's the machine. And I think it's our responsibility as artists. Doesn't mean it's going to work all the time, but I
Right.
think it's our responsibility as artists to show our many facets of ourselves. Some people lean into that. Some artists say, I'm good at comedy. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I love our Steve Carell's,
Yes.
that can kill it no matter what it is. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I love that. I love people that are versatile and can do that. And it doesn't mean that they're not great people that just do comedy and that's just what they do and they're phenomenal at it, you know?
Uh-huh.
So it's a hard question to kind of give you a blanket statement on.
I
I
get
don't
it.
even know if I fully answered your question, to be
No,
honest.
I think you pretty much got, I mean, we pretty much get the gist of that as far as that goes. I
Okay.
wanna go backwards to one of
Okay.
the things you brought up, which is
Sure.
I'm aware of the fact that you have been awarded a couple different scholarships. The BAFTA New York is the one that stands out on the top
Thank
of my head,
you.
plus a grant as well. So, again, because I'm so big on education in this,
Sure.
money is always a big thing. Money is always a
Yes.
factor, period. Whether it's the editor, whether it's the director, anybody involved on a set, we're always worried about budget, period.
Yes.
So, when somebody is going to make a film and they say to
Yes.
themselves, okay, there's a million scholarships and grants out there, etc., not everybody is well versed in grant writing, not everybody
Mhm.
understands the particulars of a scholarship. So give them one or two go-to's that you think helped you succeed in getting the scholarship.
Sure. I mean, I think first and foremost, I was in schools that the mentorship was amazing. And they are
Okay.
kind of the people that introduced me to these things and these opportunities. There's been so much that has transpired since then that is out there. There's so much money out there for
Hmm.
filmmakers, especially filmmakers that have yet to have a voice. You can find it online. Just look up grants. Even if you don't have experience with grants, you can look up. YouTube is amazing. You can look up how to find, you can reach out to people on wherever that are versed in it and ask them questions about it. I just think it's important to be honest about who you are. I think you have to know who you are. And I
Yep.
think that's a little self-excavating. I think that's important, is know who you are as an artist, because then you know where you fit in, because there are grants that solely work in this particular arena. There are grants that solely work in that particular arena. It was at Hunter College that I was able to get the BAFTA New York scholarship
Yep.
twice in a row, which was amazing.
Hmm.
And at NYU, Spike Lee is our creative advisor
Oh,
there,
right.
and he gives out money each year. He picks, you have to apply, but he picks maybe like 5 stories and is able to help with production. What helped me get my thesis really off the ground, really be able to kind of match my creativity with dollars,
Right.
which I hadn't really had before, which does a world of difference for those people that are out there. So there are resources out there. They are right online. You can look at them. They have resources that are just residences that are across the globe. That would be just amazing for any filmmaker to kind of experience, to just get, open your mind to new
Right.
experiences and new cultures. So I would definitely say that you can ask around. I just think it's all about, I think intellectual property is what's most important. It's really finding your voice. And that's why I went to grad school. I
Yep.
think it's so important to know who you are as an artist, because then you know where you stand. Because before you get into this business, if you don't know where you stand, you're a leaf in the wind,
Oh,
you know?
absolutely. Yep.
And I think it's important for you to know who you are.
Sure. Now, before I get to the movie itself, I have to ask this question. I don't think I've ever asked a filmmaker this. So, do tell me the most insane, outrageous, off the wall thing that you did to finance a film.
Oh my God. I'm not that crazy. My daddy raised me. My
Do
daddy
we
raised me
believe
well.
that? Because I
Okay.
don't know that I
No,
believe
no,
in that.
no, no, no. Seriously. I mean, other than me putting in my own money, which I don't think I would do now. Like, I know I would probably raise money if I have to
I
supplement
gotcha.
something here and
Yeah.
there. I would, no question. Don't get me wrong. I am. I will. Spike is like mentor to me. I feel like he's such a mentor to so many Black filmmakers.
Sure.
If it comes down to it, I can see myself financing my own first feature. If I don't find the right thing, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Oh,
But to be
sure.
honest with you, I've been blessed in a way that once, I've been under the roofs of institutions, whether it's Hunter College or NYU. So I've always had something to to finance my films. because I'm in that particular place to be able to do
Right.
that.
Oh,
Coming
right.
outside of that, I've been blessed where I'm directing and people are producing, where they're executive producing. I've been blessed to have people, I'm winning grants and stuff like that from NYU. So I'm able to kind of put money towards certain projects. But
Right.
I have yet to do any craziness, and hope that I don't have to do any craziness. But I know that for me, when it comes to my feature, I just want to, my main thing is to meet like-minded people who have the same sensibilities, that understand who I am as an artist, understand my importance, the importance of my voice. And I'm a firm believer that the money's out there.
Right.
Money's always been out there.
Sure. I don't disagree with that whatsoever. Okay, so she doesn't really have a wacky one. I have heard of different things. I've heard of giving a date away. I have heard literally, obviously meeting a
Hey, I didn't know
celebrity, all
that.
that. Oh God, yeah, absolutely. I had said that. Like I think we even tried that once. We were like, yeah, you can come and meet us, an actor, and I'm a journalist,
Oh,
and blah
that's
blah blah, and
good.
all this good stuff. You have to be very creative to be able to get things done. Obviously,
Yes.
that's welcome to the indie film world, of course, because
Yes,
it's
yes,
not
yes.
Marvel. I mean, we're not Marvel Studios here, where we've
Right,
got
right,
like
right, right.
endless sort of whatever. Okay, that brings us to But Tomorrow. As you
Yes.
mentioned, you are the director. I always think it's fair because I'm a terrible director, but I'm a great writer. So I always love to talk about the writer. So since I do not have the pleasure of having her with,
Salome, I want to
yeah,
say shout out to Salome, shout out to Cynical, shout out to Sarita, shout out to so many people, Rashad, who shot
right?
this, so many, Io, Phil, Molly, like it's just so many people. Directors really get to soak in all the goodness, but I
Yes.
wouldn't have been able to do anything without these incredible colleagues of mine. Layla Smith, not Muhammad Ali's daughter, but Layla
Yes.
Smith, who murdered that role, and
Yes.
Renee Henry, who also did that,
Yes.
and Salome's two daughters, Dream and Legacy, got to be in it. So it was a very
Nice.
small knit crew. And Josh and Ariana, who did grip and gaffing, like
Okay.
all these roles are so important. So I just wanted to give a shout
Right.
out to them. Again, directors get a lot of the credit, but if it wasn't for these people, this film wouldn't be in HollyShorts.
That's exactly it. It's all about having a team. I wish that everyone remembered that because
Yeah.
sometimes, everybody circulates on the director, of course. I noticed that, and I won't lie, when I was on your Instagram, I saw Rashad so much that I was like, until I knew you were married, I thought, is there something happening? Who's
That's
this
my
Rashad?
brother.
I'm
I
like,
love
what?
him.
I'm like, what's with Rashad? Because I'm like, he's everywhere. So we have to talk about Rashad. So tell
Yes.
everybody why Rashad is so sensational because you are swooning over him all the time. So that's something.
That's my brother. Like that's, I met him at NYU. So we're
Okay.
colleagues in that way.
Sure.
He was a year, so funny. He's a year under me. He came and audited Casey Lemon's class when I was doing my directing exercise.
Okay.
And he saw my, what was it? My spring narrative. I think it was my spring narrative, because we shoot 3 different films in my first year. And he had made a comment, and we kind of just vibed. And then he was auditing. So he wasn't even selected yet.
Okay.
And he was selected and was like, oh my God. And we just hit it off. It was just the type of thing where when you feel like you know somebody already,
Yeah.
and that's just has transpired. He's about to release one of his thesis film, who
Oh,
he got Spike Lee's grant and also Cary Fukunaga's grant. And he's about to kill it. You know what I mean? So it's just, I'm very excited about that. But he's such a great colleague. Again, it's one of those things where artists need to hang out with artists. He's very
right.
supportive, and I am of him. And the tribe is real strong. We got a
Oh,
strong tribe.
absolutely. I see that. Now, I am meticulous about making sure I don't give away too much. So I'm going to be
Okay.
elusive about some of these
I
things.
love that.
First of all, I'm not going to lie. I was so delighted to see a Viewmaster. I thought I was going to just jump up and down. I was like, dude, seriously, the Viewmaster usage. Okay, we have to talk about that. And
Yes.
I can't obviously go too far because I know what happens later on.
Right.
So just tell everybody why it was important to use something like the Viewmaster, because there are a few different ways in my mind that the filmmaker could have gotten that point across, but why the Viewmaster?
I think it's a thing about the time. I think it's also it's a for Crystal in the film. It's like a time capsule.
Right.
It's something her father gave her. So it's something that's for Viewmasters back then. It's like it was our little kind of like our movie. It's telling a
Right.
story. It was storytelling
Absolutely.
back then.
Yes.
So it's a homage to storytelling from back then, and it's also such a staple for when we grew up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's something that I don't know, you know, kids today probably looking at us like, what is that? You
Right.
know, it's just the history of storytelling, you know, a homage to the history of storytelling, a homage to understanding what a viewmaster is, you
Mm.
know, somebody that's mastering the view. Yeah, I'm always going to be a poet, you know, I'm always going to be a poet. You know, once a poet, always a poet. You know, people say once a Marine, always a Marine. But I feel like I see the world in a very poetic way. And I've always
Sure.
wanted to put my verbal lyricism into visual lyricism. For us, it was just like this incredible memory that's frozen in time for us
Okay.
that has also frozen in time for Crystal with her father and what her father meant for her.
Interesting, because when I had saw it, one of the things, now that I've seen the entire movie, one of the things I thought about is the Viewmaster is actually symbolic really of Crystal in the past, Crystal now, and Crystal in the future. A look
Oh, I
back then, a
love
look
that.
here, and a look that. But again, I'm a film judge, so it's
No,
my
I
job to
love that.
interpret that. But
I
truly,
love
if you
that.
think about it, it kind of does fit, you know. And again, I don't want to give away too much because you
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
find
yeah.
out what that is. So there's that.
I
Second
love that
question.
though, Cindy. I
Um,
love that.
Crystal, was it your intention? Because to me, as a woman and as a judge, I'm watching this and thinking to myself, is it intentional that the high schooler is the mom? The high schooler is kind of forced to become the mom in that role.
Mm,
And you see it not
mm.
just in the way she's physically taking care of them, but in the mental way she takes care of them. Because I noticed that mom is not saying, I love you. Mom is not saying, I'm having a good day. So was that purpose? I mean, was that
Absolutely.
intentional? Okay.
Absolutely. And I'm just speaking on behalf of Salome, just working with
Right.
her,
Right.
incredible writer, working with her alongside her as a director and kind of, you know, massaging certain parts of the script. It was important for us because there's a lot of young people, people of color we're talking about, but I'm sure it's not just people of color
Sure.
that grow up and things happen and roles get switched. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Roles get switched and it turns out where I know what happened for me in my film Cracked, I had to learn how to be an adult very early in life.
Mhm.
You know, in many ways my innocence was taken, not in many ways, my innocence was taken away from me and I had to learn how to think like an adult in order to survive.
Sure.
And for Crystal, that is a part of it. Her father was a very, without trying to give it away, I'm trying to follow your lead here. Her father was a very important part of her life,
Yes,
and him no longer being there, she's almost parenting herself in that way.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Through him,
Yes,
through
yes.
his memories. So yes, yes, that was done intentionally.
Would it be fair to say, because I know that the premise of your story actually does tell the audience that this young lady is preparing to go to school in Manhattan for her first day. Is it a fair assessment, or maybe I'm just reading into it too much, that every action that's a positive in this film is designed and she's doing it purposely to impress her father?
I believe so. I mean, I think okay. So for me, she's at a moment in her life and this is funny because this is something I identify with before the script ever landed in my lap. I went to high school in Manhattan. So I was born and raised in Queens. I live in
Sure.
Brooklyn now, but I was born and raised in Queens and I went to high school in Manhattan. Manhattan's a different world.
Yes.
Period. End of discussion.
Yes, it
As
is.
soon as you get out there, I just remember crossing the street and then looking and there's like 7 lanes of like taxis about to murder me. I was going to be on the floor. Okay.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God. And you just navigating that world is a
Right.
different world.
Sure.
So her father teaches her about blackness, about her power as a black person, as a black woman. He's a former Black Panther. He teaches her this stuff about blackness. And I think going to Manhattan, she kind of and without having her father there, she
Right.
kind of leans toward trying to impress, you know, this is the first time she presses her hair and doesn't wear it
Right.
naturally. You
Right.
know, she wants to wear her mother wears. Now her mother's
Yes.
all about the outside appearance. Her
Yes,
father's about
absolutely.
the inside. Her
Yes.
father's about knowing who you are. You know, so I think that she, without her father being there, now going into Manhattan and knowing what that world brings, and also going through puberty and coming through that coming of age, right? Where
Absolutely.
people's opinions do matter. They do matter all of a sudden. And she's going to school in a whole different world and she wants to look good and and she does what she does, you know?
Well, yes,
And
absolutely.
so I think that she's through But Tomorrow, she's in that liminal space where she's her old self is fighting her new self,
Absolutely. And would
you
it be
know?
fair looking at Renee's character,
Mhm,
one would almost assess her as really the yin and the yang that you're talking about, meaning
mhm,
her father's over on this side of the fence and her mother is representative of the things in her life that she doesn't want or she's rebelling against or the things
mhm.
that she's watched that's kind of worn her down. So you've
That's
got this
right.
beautiful sunshine and then she's getting worn down here. Renee, by the way, was a wonderful selection. So I quickly have to ask,
Incredible.
did she come to you? Did you go to her? Because that's a wonderful casting
She
choice.
Oh my god. I don't know whether it was, Actors Access or Backstage. I'm not
Okay.
sure which one. I do more than one. I
Okay.
like to cast a wide net because casting is everything. Great casting is great directing.
Oh, yes.
So, she is a powerhouse. She sent in and she was just a powerhouse, and it was incredible because while we were shooting, her aunt passed away, and her
Oh
aunt
gosh.
is Cicely Tyson.
Oh
And it
gosh.
was insane because it's like, are you able to do this? Like, are you?
Right.
And she's just like, my aunt would want me to do this. My aunt would totally want me to do this. This is, so it was definitely one of those moments where everybody that was on set, actually, it's so important to me when I'm on set that it is family, that it feels like family, because
Sure.
I have to, to me, directing is my meditation. I meditate as well, but there's nothing that keeps me in the present moment like directing. That is goldfish forgetting.
Okay.
From second to second, you have to,
Sure.
okay, this is a problem. Okay, let's fix that. Okay, next.
Yes.
That's basically what you have to do. And it was such a family experience with such talented people, both in front and behind the camera. And that's all I ever want to do. So just shout out to Renee. I know I said it already, and Layla,
Yes.
because they were incredible. They were incredible.
And the mix of that, I found it interesting. I guess it could be part, and I know it's part good acting, but on the other side of the fence, sometimes it can be challenging when you have a younger actor who is with a more mature actor.
Mhm.
How did they learn to have the ice cold relationship? It's
Sure.
easy to mesh well, but
Mhm.
how did you make the ice cold happen?
Okay, so because this was during COVID,
Yeah.
we had rehearsals on Zoom,
Jeez.
which is so interesting. I believe, just like you, Cindy, I believe in that hand to, like, let's be the energies being, there's energy here, don't get me wrong, but like in person, it's just a
Same. It's
all
just a whole 'nother
encapsulating.
world.
Yes.
Yes.
But what was important to me was the authenticity of each character. And so I worked with them together, I worked with them separately.
Yep.
And Crystal was like, I identify with this character. I mean, Layla was like, I identify with this character
Sure.
1000%. Like, I'm already living this character.
Okay.
And it's so beautiful because I'm a collaborator as a director. I am not a tyrant. I'm not a dictator, in other words. And it's so important because there was so many times, there were times where Layla would come to me with certain things, and I'm like, yes, like, bring that with you. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Because she's in there, she's living that at that time. You know what I mean? And it was just beautiful in that sense. So I feel like that is the work of both of them in conjunction with the directing. I can in no way, shape, or form take all of the credit.
Oh, sure. No, I
You
no,
know,
I
they were,
understand though.
yeah,
I
yeah.
get it.
They have so much, you know, they had so much to do with, obviously they have so much to do with that coldness. It's both of them really working on the character and living that character, being that character, not
Sure.
acting like that character. You know what
I
I'm saying?
understand. I
Yeah.
do. I get what you mean. Now, during the course of your film, because again, I mean, it's hard for me to keep going because I can't give away everything because then no one will want to watch it and then that'll ruin the premise.
Yeah.
But there are four predominant things that I talked about, which there is the concept of hate, the concept of vulnerability, the self-loathing, the need for acceptance, the frustration, and just the overall angst and anxiety. There's a lot of themes that get covered in a short amount of time here. So question to that, there's a defining moment and a speech that a lot of the verbal speeches, the narration parts that go in and out during the course of the film help so much to understand the character more, at least in my belief.
Mhm.
So please talk to me a bit about why it was so important to have an outside narrator, because the story's so strong, it tells itself.
The words come from Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye.
Okay,
And that's the book her father gave her. It's even
gotcha.
shown in there.
Yes.
And basically, The Bluest Eye is about a young Black girl who thinks that she doesn't understand her beauty and she wants to have blue eyes.
Ah,
And it really coincides and runs parallel to Crystal's path of trying to find, that's why, when she's looking through the thing, it's like, Black is beautiful. And it's like everything her father taught her.
yes.
And then she's struggling with her father's absence and where she's at now with her mother, and also going to school and wanting to impress and wanting to, so there's that facade, of trying to fit in, or trying to identify what that beauty, trying to identify with the traditional sense of beauty, of
Okay.
what people, whether
Right.
it's fashion,
True.
expensive clothes, that kind of thing, so it coincided with it. And to me, it was so important as well. It was so important, those particular excerpts from the book, because those are the excerpts that her father completely, would vibe with her with, and things that she identified more with in his absence.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Now, again, the ending I can't talk about. I will say that I will tell the director after we are not recording my interpretation, because I just have to know the answer, because I think I know
Yes.
the answer. But
Okay.
what I will ask you to do, because I ask most filmmakers who come on here, in 3 sentences, I want you to tell the audience what But Tomorrow is. What is the premise of But Tomorrow?
Mm,
Only 3 sentences,
only 3 sentences.
because it's strong enough that you don't need
Yes,
more.
yes, yes, yes. Tomorrow is about the complexity of family, the complexity of love, and the complexity of loss.
Ah, okay, now I have another version. Now, when I give these, so the last 3 filmmakers I did this, they were like, "Could you just write that out and send it to me?" I'm like, "Cut it
Okay.
out. It's not my film, it's your film." And
Ooh,
again,
okay.
this is a woman and her interpretation. In my opinion, I guess if I were given the 3 sentences, what I would say is you have a dark, along with determined look at 3 different generations of women,
Mm,
realistically multi-generation if you really wanna think about
mm,
it. There is a predominant sense of what I can feel, of sadly thousands and thousands of little girls who turn into thousands and
mm,
thousands more older women with
mm,
regret and
mm.
remorse, with love, with loss, and with beauty and betrayal.
I love that. I love that. No, the beauty of film, and that's what I love about filmmaking. You know what I mean? There's
Sure.
so much that I can get out of things, because I think even as a writer, I can write something. My process is, I know what I want to say, then I think about who's going to say it. Who are these characters?
Sure.
And I think about the world, and I think about, and then the story finds me. I know what I want to say, but the story finds me.
I
And
gotcha.
subconsciously, there's so much that lies in between the lines. There's so much that
Absolutely.
lies, and it's so beautiful when that happens. When
Absolutely.
what you just said happens, where it's, you're a different place on the grid, and
Yeah.
you're looking at it from your point of view, and it's this beautiful way of like seeing something that I've seen already, and I'm able to see it in a different container, if that makes any sense, or a
Oh,
different
yeah,
way.
sure.
So it's
Absolutely.
just beautiful. That's why I love
So
film.
my absolute last question before I tell everybody the 8 million ways to find you, because yes, she's everywhere, believe it or not. If someone watches this interview and they're Crystal, what would you say to them?
Ooh. Love yourself, be yourself, and you're gonna make mistakes. Those scars are beautiful, those wrinkles are beautiful when they come. But live, man, live. You gotta live. You
That's a
gotta live.
That's a perfect way to put it. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to read off like 17 places because I'm not lying. She's like everywhere. So, in case you guys forgot who I was talking to, this is Lin Q. Please pronounce your last name.
Ayoung.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to spell that for you, folks. It's LinQueAyoung. And the various ways to find her. She is on IMDb. She is on Instagram. She has got her own website, which is again, say it again.
LienQueAyoung.com.
Thank you so much. Wikipedia. She is on YouTube. She is on Twitter, and also the film itself, of course, buttomorrowfilm.com. Any other main places to find you?
In Brooklyn. You know, I'm right here. I'm also an energy person. Send me vibes. But
Oh, yes.
I do want to say, if you are in LA on August 17th, you can find our coming of age block, But Tomorrow.
Yep.
Which is what we're talking about. Shout out to HollyShorts, Daniel, Theo, and Nicole. Shout out to Alta Global Media with Steven. But Tomorrow's playing on the 17th of August in the coming of age block in the Chinese Theater at 2:30 p.m. Please see it, whether you like it or not. Write to me, let me know, make me a better filmmaker. And I'm honored for anybody that sees it and wants to chat about it. I'm here for it.
Oh, and I don't want to forget to mention your next appearance, next screening of the film is where? After Holly
Oh,
Shorts.
we're going to Bronze Lens.
That's
We're
right.
going to Bronze Lens, Atlanta, hot Atlanta. Get
And what
ready.
day and time again? 2:30, right? 2:30 in the afternoon.
2:30 in the afternoon at the Chinese Theater.
Okay,
Coming of
gotcha.
age block.
Look at that. Okay. I'm going to say thank you so much, Lin Q, for this
Thank you.
interview.
I would like to thank one more person.
All right, go ahead before I stop the recording.
Cindy. Shout out to Cindy, everybody. Shout out to Cindy.
Gosh, look at that. Thank you.
Shout out to
Okay.
Cindy.